A melhor palavra pra fazer piada é enzima, cara. Porque se tu deixa acumular, fica uma em cima da outra. Se você tiver um equipamento que você confia, funciona. Eu não confio no meu, então... Gelatina igual tempo em pó. Melano igual decocção em grão. Desde que eu prometi a Keush, eu nunca mais prometi porra nenhuma. Momento arrombado.
Arrombado. Momento arrombado.
Começa agora o programa que dissipa mitos e enfrenta até os temas mais difíceis do mundo da cerveja. Apresentado pelo grão-mestre das piadas ruins, Henrique Boaventura.
Posso falar a besteira que eu quiser aqui, que tá tudo em casa.
Na companhia de pessoas mais inteligentes que ele. Esse é o Braçagem Forte.
Alô, Leute, Henrique Boaventura aqui, e hoje eu tenho o prazer de ter, na nossa humilde casa, Andreas Krennmair, historiador, pesquisador, cervejeiro caseiro e autor dos livros Historische Biere Selbstgebraut, Historic German and Austrian Beer for the Homebrewer, Vienna Lager, um dos meus favoritos, e Bavarian Brewing in the 19th Century. E dessa vez vamos falar um pouquinho sobre a história da cerveja alemã, Rauchbier, e principalmente sobre Bamberg. Hello, Andreas. Thank you for accepting my invitation and welcome to the Braçagem Forte podcast.
Thank you very much for having me. Very much looking forward to our conversation.
Me too. Esse podcast continua por causa do apoio de pessoas como Thales de Souza Faria, Rubens Fernando, Thiago Reis, Leandro Almeida, Gabriel Mendes de Souza Martins e um séquito de outras pessoas que nos apoiam pelo Apoia-se. Entre no site apoia.se/braçagem-forte, o link tá no post. E você deve comprar cervejas da Stannis. A Stannis faz cervejas de qualidade e vende cervejas para o Brasil inteiro. Então você pode acessar www.stannis.com, Stannis com 2 N's, e comprar cervejas de fina qualidade, usando o cupom BF12 para ganhar 12% de desconto. So Andreas, I'm passionate about German beer. I had the opportunity to travel to Europe like 3 times, and 3 times I had to go to Germany, and 3 times I had to go to Bamberg. I read your last 3 books, so you can see that I'm eagering for this talk. But first, how did your interest for beer or beer history begin?
Well, I'm originally from Austria. I live in Germany now, so both countries with a very strong connection to beer, where I think beer is like very significant in day-to-day life. So naturally, you're just in contact with beer from I would say, fairly young age, even if you just see other people drink it. When I was young, I also developed a certain interest in history. And when I then started homebrewing when was that, in 2012, that was also the time when basically both things kind of clicked together, where I realized actually there is a lot of historic material about beer brewing out there, and I tried to understand it from the perspective of somebody who was just learning how to brew, or do this old text say, and it made me realize, there's like this whole history out there. I started with some English brewing books, and then I also discovered some German brewing books, and there were beers in there that I had never even heard about, and that was basically the beginning of my interest in beer history.
I don't know if it's the wrong perception from my side that there's like a huge amount of content of books in German that are not translated to English. So we have no access here in Brazil or in the United States, for example. So it seems like you're making some kind of connection between the German content with the English talkers, like the English speakers, right?
Yeah, and I think that's kind of my strength, that I'm a native German speaker. At the same time, I think my English is reasonably good, and so I can use my understanding of beer and brewing and what I know about history to interpret these old texts. And there really is a lot around, and a lot of those have barely been touched in terms of how they've been used in the discussion of wider discussion of beer history. So there's a lot to disseminate, and I've taken that on as one of the things that I'm doing, and I'm trying to uncover basically anything that I can find that interests me, where I think, okay, this could be valuable to other historians, but also to homebrewers. And that's always something that I want to keep, basically the homebrewing angle, that this like connection to history is also something that homebrewers can use.
That's very nice, because it's pretty evident on your books, mainly on the Bavarian one, from the beers from the 19th century, and the German and Austrian beers, because there's like a twist, a homebrewer twist on every one of your books. So, as you said, you are a homebrewer yourself. So, how does it look for you, your current setup? How do you make your beer today?
My setup is very, very simple. So when I started homebrewing in 2012, and I have to say, like, I live in Germany, and the German homebrewing community is like very technology focused, but at the time what was the most popular were these like electric cookers, and they hold a volume of, let me think, like 27, 28 liters. So you just plug them in, you can heat them up. They don't have precise temperature control, but you can basically turn them on, turn them off. That is great for like step mashing. And that's what everyone recommends. That's what I got. And they're not that expensive. I then eventually got a second one to make it easier to heat up hot water for sparging and everything. And then realized I can also use that for decoction mashing. and I, of course, I also use that to boil the wort. But everything like around it is pretty much manual. So I just use a simple external thermometer for temperature control. I can basically turn the heating on and off. Then very, very advanced technology for sparging to basically spread the sparge water evenly. I just use a colander. God, for a few euros.
It works.
And it works surprisingly well. Like, other people brewed with me and were really positively surprised, and also started using the same technique. And then for fermentation, I use like these basically plastic buckets, 30 liters with a tap on the side. Also, like, really cheap to get in German homebrew stores, and super popular because they don't cost a lot. They're of course food grade. So if you scratch one badly and you're too worried about any possible infections or anything like that, you can just throw it away and get a new one. For top fermented beers, I don't even like use a specific temperature control. I'm just lucky to have a room that basically has a fairly consistent temperature day and night, regardless of the season. So that works really well. For bottom fermented beers, I have a beer fridge where I can I use it to store beer bottles, but I can also like control the temperature from 0 degrees up to 10 degrees, and that is good enough for any kind of bottom fermentation and lagering. And I've had some good results with that, but everything else is really, really low tech.
So no fancy gear like a Braumeister or things like that. Just the basic thing.
Nothing like that at all. And I think it's actually helpful for what I want to do, because in the past I've done some really weird and wonky brews with double or triple decoction, and that's quite often in these integrated systems. I think it's not that easy to do, or sometimes I think not at all possible to do. Then a historic beer that I brewed like almost a year ago, I basically had to boil all my wort down to about 10 liters to get a really high, like original gravity of about 30 degree Plato, 30. And with having these like weird notions of doing these things that are totally out of the ordinary, I think it's better to be like completely manual and low tech, and that way I can control exactly what I want to achieve.
It's amazing how close your system is close to someone who like starting, or even someone who's been brewing for a long time here in Brazil. Like a basic pan, like you can have like a electric heat element, or maybe you use your gas stove, and just a regular fridge 10 degrees Celsius, and that's all that you need for brewing a good beer, right?
After all, our ancestors were able to brew beer with even simpler means. I mean, if you're starting very simple, all you need is fire, some hot stones, and then like some wooden vessel, and then something to stir, and everything else is then just experience to control the temperature correctly. And you can make beer with that. And humans probably made beer like that for most part of beer history. And everything else is just modern innovation that is not strictly necessary. Just makes the beer maybe slightly better and more consistent.
Or maybe overcomplicated, more things to clean, more things to organize, occupying some space that you don't have on your house. So there's place for everyone. That's the thing that I like to say. You can be like a beer geek that likes to build yourself equipment, or maybe you like to keep things just basically, and that's okay, because in the end you will have beer, and that's awesome. Any beer styles that you like to brew? I know that you brew a lot of beer styles, because for your books it seems that you must try to brew every style that you are reading about. But any beer style that you like to brew, or brew more than others?
To be quite honest, I haven't brewed every single beer. No, not every single recipe in my book, because some of them are really weird, but it would have been a lot of preparation. Like if I have, like 15, 20 recipes, that would be a lot of work. So I didn't actually do that. But what I do like to brew, like for myself, is especially in recent years, is mostly lager beers. Since I'm in the very fortunate situation that I live in Germany with very good beer around, and also lots of pretty good craft beer around nowadays, I can basically get like some of the best beer for relatively little money. So what I do is I brew the beer that I cannot get that easily, and that's ironically a lot of lager beers. So I like to brew Vienna lager a lot, simply because I like the beer style. And there really isn't a lot of Vienna lager around, which I find a bit sad. I, like once a year, together with friends, we brew a Czech dark lager. Like we could probably get Czech dark lager, but it's been now a tradition that every year in September we're brewing it, and it's basically our Christmas beer. And we brew 20 liters, and each of us takes 10 liters home, and that's just part of the tradition. Then occasionally I like to brew an English best bitter, because I just like the beer style, and it's also something that you cannot get at all in Germany, or at least not one that actually tastes like you were in the UK. And that's basically it. No, sometimes I do try out a few things. Like if there's like a new technique or something about a process or some ingredients that really interests me, then I will try that out. For example, last year I brewed a Franconian Keller beer, where I actually tried out the specific water profile of one brewery, where the brewer had told me, we have this incredibly hard water, and it's so counterintuitive. You would use this hard water with lots of magnesium too, and very high in sulfates, that you would use that for like a normal pale lager. But the beer is amazing. And so I tried that out, that specific water profile, and that was a great experiment, because the beer tasted really similar to that brewery's like main lager beer that they're selling. And that was something like I could have just bought bottles or crates of Franconian Keller beer, but I just had to try that out, and that was a big learning.
It's amazing, because if someone who listened to the podcast just read what the beer styles that you said and the beers that you said, they will point that it was me talking, because it's very close to what I'm brewing recently, because it's like German lagers, like some Czech beers. I love Czech dark lagers. It's amazing. Like I have a clone of Ufleku.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have never drank Ufleku like fresh. So I'm trying to approach, and I got the recipe from, I think that was the brewer that shared on some website, and it's just perfect. Olha só, sabe o que ainda é melhor do que braçar uma Rauchbier? É fazer isso usando os equipamentos da Easy Brew. E é por isso que a Double Vessel da Easy Brew tem uma tecnologia única no mercado. Ela trabalha com 2 tanques distintos montados um sobre o outro. No de cima ocorre a mostura e no de baixo a fervura. Ou seja, não tem aquele negócio de ficar suspendendo, levando para um lado, levando para o outro, se queimar, sujar o chão. E essa solução também permite uma melhor extração dos açúcares e um rendimento maior, né? Que no final das contas isso é massa demais. Outra vantagem é que, como os tanques trabalham de forma independente, é possível ganhar um tempinho considerável. Enquanto um tá numa etapa, o tanque superior tá noutra, então não tem erro. E quando tudo terminar, é só limpar e colocar tudo dentro um do outro, não vai ocupar espaço, vai ficar compacto dentro da tua casa. É mais facilidade e prazer em produzir e menos sujeira e complicação. E claro, esses equipamentos estão na Easy Black e a ação da Black Friday da Easy Brew, que tá dando 36% de desconto em soluções completas. Não perca essa chance de fazer agora um upgrade para o seu equipamento definitivo. Conheça as soluções da Easy Brew, aproveite os descontos da campanha e descubra o que é a alegria de fazer cerveja sem perrengue. Entra no site easyblack.easybrew.com.br e não esqueça de falar que é ouvinte do Braçagem Forte para ganhar um binge exclusivo. But moving on, Germany is well known for its classic lagers, but your books specifically explore nearly forgotten styles, many of them ales. So why that?
Because they're the forgotten styles, and that was my big surprise when I started getting into the historic side of beer brewing, when I discovered how many old styles were around that I didn't even know by name. Like that was the discovery that there basically was this whole like beer culture where basically every city or like many towns basically had their local beer style or beer type, and even the like 19th century books, they call it like the local beers, Lokalbiere in German, and that was just the culture all over Germany, and lagers like bottom fermented beers for basically until about 200 years ago. That was basically just a local group of styles in Bavaria, but virtually unknown outside of Bavaria. And then these beers became popular. What of course also played into that was the Industrial Revolution. So a lot of during the 19th century, a lot of like new breweries were founded that were basically trying to brew Bavarian style beers, but in other parts of Germany. And those were usually organized as like stock companies, and the local breweries, they were basically these small family owned operations, and they didn't have any money to really like invest or to build up their breweries. So they couldn't really compete. And so people also like the fashionable new Bavarian style beer. And so all of these, or not all of them, but most of these old beer styles, they basically went extinct because people turned towards the fashionable drink, and the old stuff probably also couldn't compete on price, because brewing like is very much economies of scale. So it's cheaper per liter to brew large batches than to brew small batches, and that basically killed off a lot of local beer history. And when you think about like what are the local beer styles of Germany before the Industrial Revolution that still exist, it's very, very few. There's Berliner Weisse, there's Große, which I mean nowadays is mainly associated with Leipzig, but was also like in that general area, in that general part of Germany, like quite popular. And like these two are interesting because like there used to be this whole like northern German southern beer style or group of styles that used to be for hundreds of years basically one of the most popular beers in large parts of Germany. And nowadays you have two of these beer styles that are still there. And then you have Kölsch and Altbier, which are from this like what they call the Rhineland bitter beers. So they're actually kind of related. There's the Düsseldorf Altbier and the Altbier from Münster, which is actually like in how it used to be actually closer to these like northern German sour beers, and those have been like brewed with like top fermented but cold matured. So sometimes they're called like top fermented lager beers, and then those have been around for quite some time and are kind of related and I would say relatively old and like a very local beer culture. And then in Bavaria you have your Dunkel that has been like an absolutely
the basic standard for a long time, right?
Yeah. It's like it used to be the dominant beer style or general beer type, just a dark bottom fermented lager, or the Bavarian Weissbier. That's another one. And and Bock beer, of course. That's maybe part of this whole dark lager thing, but it used to be, or it has been like its very own thing for quite a long time. And that's about it. And there were probably hundreds of other local beer styles all over the rest of Germany. And of course, one that I forgot, like in Bamberg with the Rauchbier, that's also like a very old one.
And that's the one.
Yeah. But yeah, and like anything in between, pretty much lost. For a few of them, we know the name. For some of them, we even have historic recipes. And that's what I put in my books, or especially in the historic German and Austrian beers for the homebrewer.
It's crazy how there's some kind of unique thing in Germany, like the relation from some styles with the city. Like here, you don't have at all this kind of things. But in Germany, like you go to Bamberg, there are some like pseudo beer styles that only exists in Bamberg. So you go to Oberpfalz. Oberpfalz, is that correct? Oberpfalz?
Yeah. Yes.
And there's Zeugel or Zeugel. Mm. So there's some kind. It's like a Calabia, but you know, but that's the beauty of the thing, right? Like there's just a small place where you can go and you can drink something unique. It's some kind of magical for me, this kind of thing.
Yeah, it's this like very local beer culture, and many local beer cultures. Like in Munich, you would historically only get beer in a mass, whereas you go to, you know, like Cologne or Düsseldorf, and you only get it in small glasses. But you get it served quickly and drink it very quickly. And so it's these little things where basically each local culture treats their beer quite differently from everyone else, and is also locally very proud of it. Like people in Munich will tell you, of course, their local beer, their favorite brewery is the best, and then
is the one around the corner.
Yeah, and then in Düsseldorf, people will say the best beer is Altbier and the worst beer is Kölsch, and in Cologne they will say it the other way around. And of course everyone has their favorite brewery and is like really adamant that that's the best beer and nothing else. And I think that's also something like especially noticeable in Bamberg, where people really care about the beer that they drink, not just for the beer's sake, but also because it's a vessel for socialization, like where you meet friends. You meet friends at a beer keller, you meet friends at some pub or at a brewery restaurant or just outside of it. It just keeps everything like smooth and well oiled from a social perspective. Yeah,
it just works, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Before we moving on to the my main or my favorite subject, that's Bamberg. Here in Brazil, we have like a great issue with documentation. It's very hard to find old documents, and even harder to find something about beer itself. If so, you will find something related to big breweries, like huge big breweries from some kind of conglomerate. So how do you research historical recipes or historical matter related to beer? What kind of sources do you use?
So fortunately, there is a lot available online. So Google Books, for example, is one great source. So quite a few years ago, they basically went around to all these libraries and basically offered to scan their books, and
for free.
I don't think they charged anyone anything. But then it's for them, you know, it's a big corpus of text, and certainly relevant for them. I mean, nowadays you would say they're using it to train their AI models. That would be the reason to gather such a large corpus nowadays. but I'm pretty sure they had a good reason, and they had the money and the technology to do it. So there's a lot online, and because of OCR, you can also like directly search in the text. So you basically just search for something like Kellerbier or Wiener Lager or Wiener Lagerbier or Wiener Märzen or something like that, and you will find something, and you then go from there. Sometimes it's not quite as obvious, but you can basically find a lot of historic brewing books quite easily through Google Books. There's the Internet Archive that also has a lot. There's Halfly Trust, which I think is an American website that also basically combines the data from a lot of different online libraries. Then in Germany, you also have some local ones. For example, the state of Bavaria has a lot of things online. I think the city of Munich separately again. So there's a lot. And then in Austria, you have the National Library has some things. They have a very, very good newspaper archive that's more really for Austrian newspapers. And so I have a list of all kinds of websites, and whenever I'm researching something, that's where I'm starting. That's where I'm basically searching for phrases, and basically gather all the data and then sift through it and try to basically get to the bottom of everything. And that's my basic approach. Here in Berlin, I'm also very fortunate that I have a library basically just down the road, like on 10 minutes by bus away from where I live. And it's one of the libraries in the VLB. The VLB is this beer research center, and they also do some teaching there. And everybody can go there. You can take a look at the library, and it's actually the library of a beer history society that's connected to the VLB. You can go there. You can research things. They have a lot of beer related books, like a really, really large collection. Also industry journals that you can go through. So there's a lot of material, and always something like to find that I wouldn't have found online. So I'm in a very lucky position that this is just down the road a few minutes.
I really, really envy you, Andres. Really, really envy you, because there's a lot of search for the material. Just sharing what I've been through. When I was researching, I made a video about Zeugel, Hunters of the title is like Hunters of the Forgotten Styles. It's like something like that. And I'm doing like a series of talking about forgotten styles. I'm not copying you, but I'm inspired by you. So researching about Zeugel was very difficult. So it's nice to know that there are a lot of sources for you to dig in and find some things, find the thread that will conduct you to the main subject, So dive into the main topic. As I said before, and everyone that listened to this podcast knows since day one, I love Bamberg. Bamberg is my favorite city in the whole world. I love it with all my heart and mainly with my liver. So why is Bamberg so important for the history of German beer? What is so special in Bamberg?
I think what makes Bamberg and the region around it stand out is that it has resisted a lot of industrialization. Like, obviously, they use modern technology, and they're like big maltings in Bamberg, and a big
Weiermann
brewing equipment manufacturer. And it's not just Weiermann; it's also Bamberger Malt. So they're basically on like different sides of the railroad tracks, and like not that far away from each other.
I didn't know that.
And then there's Kaspar Schulz. So apparently the secret is most of the brewers as like in the area as their base malt, they use Bamberger malts. They would go to Weiermann for specialty malts, but for the base malts, apparently Bamberger malts is like more popular. But that's just something that I've heard from other people, since I'm not like working in the brewing industry myself, I can't really confirm it.
Like plain base malt, like Pilsen style malt, or maybe Vienna malt, or maybe Munich malt, right? Not special malt like Rauch malts.
Yes, apparently, they don't produce much malt. I think they don't produce any specialty malts. I think it's just like Pilsner, Munich. I'm not even sure whether they do a Vienna, and probably some wheat malt. I would need to check their website myself because I don't know it.
One more place to visit.
From the top of my head. I'm not sure whether they do tours, but
I can knock on his door.
Any beer brewed with their malt has been very good. But to get back to the to the question why Bamberg is so important, like there's also like big equipment manufacturer Kaspar Schulz, but then the structure of the local beer industry is mostly a family owned one, and not so much focused on expanding the business as much as possible, but just working within their means and serving the local market. They don't like, you know, when a family has owned a brewery over several generations, there's probably no significant debt. They know what their local customers like, and that's who they're serving. They will brew some beer to export it to, like, even within Germany. That's sometimes also already quite a stretch. They will do some investments to modernize their own brewery, but they're set in what they have, and so they don't need to, you know, there are no shareholders for which they need to grow the business or anything like that. And that way, I think the whole region has managed to keep a lot of like this like uniqueness where one brewery brews a very different beer from the next one, because they know, okay, like these local people just like brewery from that beer from that brewery, and the others prefer the other brewery, and that's just how it works. And there's a niche basically for everyone, and everyone has their has their preferences, and so this like force that everything needs to be uniform just hasn't gone through it, and I think that that's what sets Bamberg and the whole region apart, and also maybe it just has to do with how much has been available in terms of like variety in beer, but people have like strong opinions, and they just really know what they like, and they will defend that to some extent.
Do you think that like this no expand policy, or like keep it small policy, somehow set Bamberg apart from other Bavarian regions like München or Nuremberg or even Köln in Düsseldorf? Because on these cities, there are like big breweries, like huge breweries, that it's not the reality in Bamberg.
It's hard to tell the finer details, but when we talk about Munich, 150, 200 years ago, was in a, I would say, similar situation where there were actually lots of like family-owned, relatively small breweries around. I think a lot of those were just eaten up because a few big players really grew really large. Of course, there were always the ones that didn't do so well, and competition was apparently really fierce that pushed a lot of the Munich breweries like to the point where they just couldn't continue operating. But when you have, you know, one or two breweries that suddenly built like a fully automated steam-powered brewery, built their own big maltings where they can produce fantastic smoke-free malt for themselves. That's and they like then have the capacity to basically deliver to anyone in the city and outside the city. That's hard to compete as a small one, and this hasn't happened, I think, in Bamberg to that extent. There's one large brewery, Kaiserdom,
yeah.
But I've not met a single Bamberger who genuinely liked any of their beers. There are, of course, some like some beers are basically brands of theirs. Like, for example, if you've been to Klosterbräu, that's, to my knowledge, been brewed at the Kaiserdom brewery.
Really?
So that is not a distinct brewery on its own. But the Kaiserdom brand, I've never perceived as particularly popular within the city. Like I've heard Bamberger say, "Oh no, that's next to the cemetery
on the edge of town, right?"
Yeah. It's not the kind of beer that the Bamberger would want to drink. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're from a technical perspective, they're very, very good brewers. And friends of mine who lived or still live in Asia, like East Asia or Southeast Asia, they said like they get Kaiserdom beers imported to them, and they say it's still very, very good beer.
Sadly, Andreas, Kaiserdom is the only beer that's exported to Brazil from Bamberg.
It's tough, I suppose.
It's sad. It's sad. They could export Spezial. They could export Klosterbräu. They could export more Schlenkerla, because Schlenkerla is like just a small part of exportation. The exports that arrive here in Brazil. So, but no, they focus on export a huge ton of Kaiserdom, like the Keller beer, the Pilsner. I must say that the Rauch one, it's okay. The canned version, it's okay, just okay.
Okay. I've not, to be honest, I've not really had it myself, so I can't really say much about it.
E se tu quiser saber o que é Hops Company selecionou nos Estados Unidos, entre em contato pelo site hopscompany.com ou chama a pessoa que já te atende, ou ainda manda um direct para saber o que tem de informações novinhas para você aqui no Brasil. Sua cervejaria merece lúpulos selecionados pela Hops Company. What beer styles, like just trying to connect the dots here, what beer styles originated in or were preserved in Bamberg besides Rauchbier?
Besides the Rauchbier, I would say what's quite unique or at least quite distinct, what's still around is ungespundet. So ungespundet like translates to English as unbunked, and it just describes the practice of when the beer was lagered, was matured. They would have these massive wooden casks. And they wouldn't put in a bung. So normally you would put in the bung, and then there would be a bit of like secondary fermentation that would build up carbonation. But what they did instead, they left it unbunked. So some carbon dioxide would dissolve, and basically that's the natural carbonation, just at these like cool temperatures. But any excess carbon dioxide would just go up in the air and not dissolve. So you would have beers with a relatively low carbonation that are, I would say, quite easy drinking. It's maybe not a style per se, but it's a method of production that, like, even in the 19th century, like early 19th century, like there's I know of it, or I remember at least one book where the author like specifically pointed out, oh, this is something quite specific to Bamberg, that they would just store the beer like that they wouldn't put in any bung, and that's just something incredibly local. And you have a few beers like the Maas, AU, like that's I think what a lot of people outside of Bamberg know. But then also Spezial has an ungespundet, which is a fantastic beer in my opinion. Then when you go outside, a lot of the local breweries will have some ungespundet, like in their portfolio of beers that they're doing, and it's also something like it's a technique that makes the beer incredibly drinkable. Just a bit less carbon dioxide. It's great in my opinion.
It's just, if I'm allowed to say it, it's like a German cask lager, like the German ales.
Yeah, it basically achieves its drinkability through that it's just lower, or it's one of the elements to it, that it's lower in carbonation. Yeah,
and it's served on gravity, right? There's no CO2 involved. It's like open the tap and that's the service, right?
Ideally, yes. Not all of them still do that. So even though some of the breweries like have like a wooden cask like up at the bar, for some of them it's just connected to a big tank. But they
what a shame.
yeah, it's but they obviously treat it in such a way that it doesn't like build up more carbonation afterwards. So it still keeps that relatively low carbonation. But it's just what's practical for them.
That's the reason why some pubs have the ritual of like taking the vessel from the countertop and put another one to prove that it's from this cask. Is there some kind of relation between these things?
I'm not sure whether it's to show it off, but it's just the practical means of having to put on another cask. And
okay, sure.
If a place is really popular, you would have to, I don't know, put up a new cask every 30 minutes or every hour or so, and that can be quite exhausting. And it's like it's really exhausting work and makes it all a bit more complicated.
They are big casks, right? 20, 40 liters, right?
Yeah, like the normal ones that you see are usually like 30 liters. I think sometimes 50 liters, but they can go up to 200. I mean, not in Bamberg, but like at the Oktoberfest in Munich, there's Augustina are the only ones that still do the really big 200 liter wooden casks. And that is tough work, because then it's not just the beer itself that weighs a lot, but it's also the cask, and you're working with trying to push around hundreds of kilos of cask with beer, and it's incredibly hard work to do that. And I think a lot of breweries or pubs just don't want to deal with it. Others, I think, see themselves that they need to do it because they're so traditional. Either I'm fine either way. What's whatever's practical, whatever they think the beer should be served. Either way, as long as the beer is good, as long as the beer consumer gets good beer, it's good.
It doesn't matter the vessel, right? It's just like, I'm assuring you that's the right beer, the right moment to drink it. So if it's from like a cask or it coming from like a stainless steel cask, it's okay. Just serve me the right beer. Speaking of beer and speaking of Rauchbier, that's, as I said before, and everyone knows it, because it's my favorite style. I always have like a homebrew version at home, or maybe some kind of smoked style variation, like a Rauchweizen, or maybe something like a Helles Rauch. I don't know if it's common around the area, but what's the orange of the Rauchbier? Orange, I must say, like.
So the history is that basically any kind of dark lager back in the day was presumably smoked. Maybe not very heavily smoked, but malt kilns in Germany up to the early 19th century were pretty much all smoke kilns. So if you used fire to dry your malt, basically no kilns were constructed in such a way that it would just heat up air to then dry the malt, but it was some kind of smoke that would get in touch with the malt during the kilning, during the drying process. And so I mean, you sometimes hear back in the day all beer used to be smoked beer. It wasn't quite like that, because you could also air dry your malt, but there was it had some
that was it was more expensive, right?
Yeah, that had other difficulties, but it was definitely a lot more common, and it's something that was just around, and people probably didn't even like specifically like note it, or it was like you were around like a smoky taste all the time. You probably didn't notice it so much, or didn't care so much about it, and then in the like starting from the early 19th century up to the 1850s, that was the time when, like in Bavaria, and that also included Bamberg, where most of the breweries basically switched over to smoke-free kilns, because the malt was just cleaner, and it was like there started to be a much better understanding about the technical aspects of kilns and how to just produce a better product, and in that case malt. But for whatever reason, and that's something I have not fully understood myself, is that in Bamberg some breweries just continued making smoked malt. It could be that they knew that their like loyal beer drinkers, local loyal customers, basically enjoyed the flavor of it, or that they couldn't afford switching to a more modern kiln. They basically couldn't afford the modernization. I would say it's probably the former, so that it was just a local preference, and there were a few breweries that continued it on. So before World War II, there were, to my knowledge, there were still 4 breweries that were doing it. So we know Schlenkerla and Spezial, because they're still around. And then there was also Greifenklau, and then Polar Beer.
Greifenklau made a Rauchbier.
Yes, they made it up to the 1970s. And Polar Beer, nice. I think, closed down or merged with the Löwenbräu. So there was Polar Beer Löwen. But I think they moved away from doing smoked beer. So basically in the 1960s or early 70s, there were 3 around, and then Greifenklau just stopped it. They probably, I don't know the exact circumstances, but they probably modernized the brewery, and they probably simply stopped making their own malt, because that, you know, when you have local producers, it's just easier.
Sure.
And then it was only 2, and those most certainly must have realized, okay, this is something that is going extinct, and that's that, you know, they had a very, or they still have a very unique product that is like internationally now very much recognized as like the beer from Bamberg, even though the overall diversity is even bigger. But it's just like a Rauchbier from Bamberg as such is like a brand on its own, regardless of the specific brewery behind it.
And when Klosterbrau began to make its own Rauchbier?
I don't know about that.
There's even a no alcohol version.
Yeah. To be honest, I don't know about that. But it's something where I need to, where like that's a bit that I would need to research, because I'm really not sure about it. So I can't really say anything.
The first time that I went to the Klosterbrau in 2017, I don't remember to see like a Rauchbier there. But in 2019, I saw the Rauchbier. And then the last time, I believe that was 2023, there was even a non-alcohol version of the Rauchbier. But they are very different between them. Like the Schlenkerla is like the really bold, strong smoke beer. Like the Spezial is like the more like balanced one. And there's like the Klosterbrau that sits in the between the two of those breweries. Like it's a really good style.
I think it's good that like they set each other apart so much, because if it was all the same, you know, like would you really enjoy, you know, like preferring going to the one or the other, or basically comparing the two? I think like having diversity within the category of Rauchbier is only helpful.
And this kind of diversity somehow touched the Schlenkerla heart, because they now have like 3 different new. There was the Märzen, the Rauchweizen, the Bock, the Urbock, right? And now there's like 3 ones with different kind of wood.
Yeah, they have the cherry wood one, which is like a smoked red beer,
like a Rotbier.
Then they have
maybe like a
they call it a Rotbier, and then Erle, like I think a Schwarzbier, And then there was another one that I forgot.
And even a Pivo Grodziski.
That's right. Yeah,
the blue label.
I actually have a bottle of that in my fridge. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
A friend of mine gave it to me, and I haven't tried it yet, and I really need to do that.
I'm curious about this beer, I must say.
So am I. But what was it? There was one thing that I wanted to just say. I mean, the big innovation here is that Schlenkerla basically decided to move beyond this like what they've always been known of, like just beechwood smoke or oak smoke for the what is Doppelbock, that they would basically experiment with different woods to see what different results that they're getting. And they're probably the only ones in Germany that would have the means to do that, and the reputation, because Schlenkerla is like the internationally known brewery for that. And yeah, I think they've done a great thing of basically like combining this very traditional method with just putting out a few different beers and expanding their portfolio. And it's also like if you like tasting these beers, it's a great experience. And it's quite amazing like what different flavors you can get out of different wood.
It's like there's some new layer of complexity that you can add to the beer using like different kind of wood. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. And I think that they are still kilning their own malt, right? They are not. I don't know if they smoke their own malt or if they kiln their own malt using smoke. I really don't know.
They definitely all like make the smoked malt all themselves. I was in Bamberg only the other week, and I actually did a tour around the brewery. They didn't show us much of the kiln, but I stood next to the stack of wood that was basically ready to be used for the next firing of malt for the next kilning. So yeah, it's still all in-house, and that's what sets them apart, and that's what both Schlenkerla and Spezial are saying, that we still make all the malt ourselves, so nothing is bought in, and the method is still the very traditional one. Because apparently, I mean, I don't know too many of the details, but apparently the method that for example Weiermann is using is a slightly more modern one, because they don't have like such an old school kiln. I think they have some kinds of drums in which they're doing the kilning, and then they blow in smoke. But I've not seen that myself, so that's only what other people have told me.
It will be visible if you are like going up the Michelsberg, and there was a mouse tree up the Michelsberg, so probably they are only smoking their malt. And Spezial use like Weiermann malt, right?
No, Spezial. The smoked malt.
I think that in the late years they are like trying to smoke again their own malt, but I think that I read someplace that they used to smoke, then they switched to the Weiermann one, and then back to smoke his home malt.
I'm not aware of anything like that, but I need to see whether.
Oh, no problem. It's.
See, you sending me on this like
the quests, little quests. But
new quests. So
you have this quest, but you must back to me with the research results. E você quer mais? Você quer leveduras? Você quer ales? Você quer lager, brete, bactéria? O lugar certo para comprar é na Levitec. Na Levitec tem tudo isso, além de leveduras para outras bebidas, como cidra, cachaça e whisky. Então, tudo que você quiser para fermentar a sua bebida, você encontra na Levitec. Acesse o site www.levitec.com.br e faz as tuas compras. Andreas, I know that we have a short time, so I would like to move on to the cultural and tourists aspects of Bamberg. So there are some things that I love to see in Bamberg, pubs that are really uncommon in Brazil. Maybe they are beginning to to happen here in Brazil, but like families with children sharing tables, many old people still drinking beer in the pub and like playing games, playing cards, and using the place to meet people. What's the relationship between the local population of Bamberg and the beer? Is there some kind of glue that maybe tie all these things together?
I mean, it's the beer. I think is the social lubricant. I mean, it is in much or in most parts of Germany that beer is just something you have around. I think what brings people together, especially in Bamberg, is the social aspect and meeting, like going to a beer keller. So it's basically like a beer garden. Is something that I think is one of the most favorite pastimes in Bamberg and the region. And you go there, you maybe just drink a few beers, you can bring your own picnic, and that's something that's guaranteed by law that if it's a beer keller or a beer garden, you can still bring your own picnic. You don't have to buy the food from there, and so it makes it very accessible. The only thing is you just need to buy the beer from the keller, and that people meet their friends there. They go there with the family for like Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon during the summer, and it ties everything together. And it's always such a relaxed atmosphere.
Yep, it's so beautiful.
It's so hard to describe. I think it's just something that you need to experience.
You think that's hard to describe because that's something that's really common for you, or because it's normal to see people like that? Because we don't see old people in Brazil drinking beer. It's like some kind of taboo. I don't know. It's really strange.
Very, very interesting.
It's weird actually.
No, it's in Bamberg. It's certainly the opposite. Like that's the most normal thing. You go to a pub and you see like men in their 50s, 60s, 70s just sitting at a table reading the newspaper,
exactly,
leisurely sipping on a mug of beer and just looking happy or whatnot.
I remember one specific passage in Bamberg that I was in Klosterbrau drinking my Rauchbier, and then two ladies, like 70 years old ladies, were like arriving the brewery, and then they come to the table and said, "Can we drink with you?" It was me and my wife. So it's like we came from Nuremberg just to drink beer, and we are like spending the day here drinking our beer, talking, and then we go back to Nuremberg and everything keeps going. So there's some kind of magical thing around that. It's something that I would like to live more and more, you know.
Yeah, there's definitely not much of a hesitation of just asking people for, like whether there's a bit more space to sit. What I also like to mention in that context is how some of the places, and Fessler I think is a great example. They have what historically used to be basically where the horses were given water, which is basically just a big entrance door. But nowadays you just walk in there, and they have like two tables and like a standing area and like in the inner yard. Then you have a window. You just order your beer and you pay there, and then you can sit down at the tables, and that's you just sit there, and if somebody else wants to sit, they will just sit next to you. They will of course ask whether they can sit, but you want other people to equally enjoy their beer, and as long as there's free seats, of course people you will tell people that they can sit with you, and sometimes you get into conversation. Sometimes they will just want to sit alone, and then there's something like low key magical about it.
Yeah, for years long, my profile picture was this like entrance hall in Fessler, which there's like a drawing of a dwarf like rolling a barrel. Like on the wall. So it was my profile picture, like a selfie on that place. It's very, very, very beautiful. So Andreas, moving on to the end of our talking. So, are there any upcoming projects in works? Can we expect more books? I know that you'll be researching a lot because I said I bring some subjects that you did not have the answer right away. So, any books on the way?
I'm currently working on my next book, which will be about Bavarian wheat beers.
Nice.
So Weissbier, Weizenbier, Hefeweizen, whatever you want to call it. I think in like content and structure it will be different to the Vienna Lager book. So I've done a lot of research around the early history, which presented its own challenges. I looked into historic brewing methods, also into like the more modern, basically what's state of the art, and what are the most recent scientific findings about wheat beer, like Bavarian wheat beer brewing. And of course, there's like a good amount of how to brew the beer at home. I expect to publish that in the first half of next year. So
looking forward.
If everything goes all right, but I have a few things to try out that I want to put in the book, and I need to find some more interesting recipes. Get brewers to contribute interesting and unusual wheat beer recipes. And once everything's done, then I'll put it out. I don't, because I'm self-publishing. I don't have any external pressure. I try to make this as good as possible and basically get everything right and get it as complete as I want it to be. But if everything moves the way I expected, first half of 2026 should be the right date. Yeah.
No pressure, Andreas. No pressure. I'm just looking forward for this book, and the books can be bought on Amazon, right? I bought mine on Amazon, the digital version, and then the printing version on Amazon. It's the main source, right?
Yeah. I'm basically selling all my books through Amazon. For the simple reason it's very easy for me, because I don't want to deal with the whole tax system in Germany. And the easiest way of doing it is just I'm going to Amazon, where I can self-publish it. I can upload like all the print ready files or the ebook, and they basically sell it for me, and all I do is I get royalties, and I just need to pay income tax on that in Germany and nothing else. And I also have to say I'm getting a lot of royalties from like in terms of like the percentage of the actual book price, which also makes it very attractive. And I also want to say thanks, like so many thanks to anyone who's purchased any of my books. All of that has paid for some very nice holidays for me and my wife. You cannot get rich as an author writing about a niche like beer history, but it at least has made me very happy that I was able to go on nice holidays and help me finance some nice trips.
It's a nice exchange for me. And you are also still publishing on your blog, right? How do I pronounce your blog name? I don't have a clue.
It's pronounced daftegypt.com.
That's what I thought. It's exactly like I thought that was written.
The story to that is my wife's originally from Northern Ireland, and like when we started going out, she called me a daft Egypt, which like was that like the joking way of like you're a bit of a stupid idiot, but in a very very endearing way.
Romantic, I would say.
Yeah. So it daft means daft, stupid, and Egypt is the very Northern Irish pronunciation of just the word idiot. But it has an endearing notion to it. And when I decided that I wanted to start blogging up beer, I just registered that domain. It was because it was still free, and that's what I just kept on.
One final tip for those who, after listening to you passionately talking about exploring historical styles, what would be like the final tip for those who want to explore more?
Don't be shy. Just look what you can find online, and then just go from there. As I said, Google Books has a lot of material. Since I don't speak Portuguese, I don't know how much Portuguese language, historic brewing literature there is around. But maybe one of your listeners, might dive into that. There is a lot of English language brewing literature around. Lots of old books, going back to the early 18th century. The English there is a bit strange, and so it's not always the easiest to understand. But even just reading through things and trying to understand basically what did they do back then, how would you do things nowadays as a home brewer, I think that can already help a lot. And then if you do that, or when you do that, maybe you find out, or you're more interested in this particular topic, and then you'll just continue searching, and maybe you'll come across something that you've not read anywhere before, and maybe you think it's worth putting it on the internet somewhere, and that's already a help to probably a few people, and there's absolutely no pressure, and any kind of work is always helpful, and is if not, I don't know, 10 even just 10 of your listeners start doing that, and only one of them discovers for them, or this whole beer history thing is great for me, and they start blogging about it, just a few blog posts, the world is a richer place when it comes to beer history with that. So just go out and look for whatever interests you. I think that's all I can say, because that's how I did it, and I think I found some pretty cool stuff, and if I can do that, then so can everyone else.
And that phrase is beautiful, because your work inspired me to make something really different, not exactly like a book or maybe a blog post, but it made me research for Zygo. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you too. I'm really glad to hear that I inspired someone to do something new and different.
You really inspire me, really, 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 because I read probably all your blog posts and your books, as I said. So, Andreas, thank you so much. It was a pleasure talk to you, and I'm looking forward for your next books. I want to see more than one books, and maybe your presence on another episodes where we can talk about other things here about history and brewing.
Yeah, thanks again for having me. I really enjoyed the conversation, and maybe we'll talk to each other again in another episode.
Thank you so much.
Este podcast é produzido pela BAC Produções e Comunicação e está disponível no Spotify, YouTube ou na sua plataforma de áudio preferida. Na nossa equipe, contamos com a colaboração de Henrique Boaventura, Ludmila Almeida, Gabriel Gurian, apresentação, redação, blog, e Rubens Reis na edição.
Este podcast foi editado por Play Áudios.